From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. And I just found out I am in the upper middle class when you put me on the global scale. The Pew Research, in their latest little release here, has a calculator where you can find out where you rank income-wise, both nationally and globally. Just search it up. You'll find it. Pew Research Income Calculator. I think that'll do it for you if you're curious. Yeah, according to my annual income, which I'm not going to share with you, I probably should. If I practiced what I preached, I would share it with you. But I'm not fully evolved and enlightened as I like to think I am. Anyway, I will tell you that on the American, just the USA calculator, I'm in the lower income tier. I'm in the lower third. But I'm in the top third. Well, let's see here. The global calculator separates us into four. So there's the lower income, middle, upper middle, and higher income. So I'm in three. I rank 3 out of the 4. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm very comfortable relative to the rest of the world. And I'm guessing you are too. I'm just guessing you, kind listener, the odds are you make more money than I do. So there may be some exceptions out there. But yeah, we are in the upper middle class relative to the rest of the world. And I have to keep reminding myself of this, that when you and I do all this complaining about rich folks, because, rich folks are a problem. They are the ones doing virtually all the polluting. Have you ever seen that scale, that little graph? Yeah, the top 10% of the world's population is responsible for about, now I don't have the chart in front of me right now, so don't hold me to these numbers. But it's off the charts. I mean, it's like the top 10% of income earners are responsible for like 90% of emissions, of the carbon footprint. Yeah, of course, we should still try to live gently. I think that's a pretty generally safe philosophy. Live gently on the earth. Don't consume too much. That's a good rule for everybody. But let's be real. All the poor and middle income folks of the world could completely revolutionize the way they live. And it would hardly make a spit of a difference in mitigating or reversing climate change. The great 90% of the world's population, we could all do the right thing every day, 24/7. And unless the top 10% of income earners join us in that quest, and unless top multinational corporations and governments join us in that quest, no, we can't do it. We can't do it without them. So, but I guess what I was saying is, when I complain about rich folks here, I have to remind myself that I'm relatively rich on the global scale. So whatever I'm complaining about, I need to look at myself in the mirror and think about how I'm living my life relative to everyone beneath me, so to speak. And of course, they're not beneath me. What I mean on the scale. Everyone under me on the income scale has every right to look at me and point their finger, just like I have every right to look at the rich in America and point my finger and say, hey, you know what? You're not doing your share for a just society and especially for a livable planet. I've got criticism every single day on this podcast about the people with money and power. They're not doing enough. In some cases, they're not doing anything. In many, many cases, maybe most cases, they're doing the exact opposite of what they ought to be doing as far as their own personal consumption and the decisions they make because they're rich and powerful that make a big difference publicly, globally. People with money and power, when they make decisions, they have a huge outsized impact on all the rest of us and on the world. And that's why we gotta jump on them every day. We gotta hold them to account. And ultimately, we have to take their power away. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, capitalism has to go, money has to go, profit has to go. We have to go in the direction of social anarchy, of socialism, and we got to change the way things work. If we allow this tiered system of rich, upper middle, middle, and poor, the very fact that we can be measured that way is the problem itself. As long as we can measure ourselves nationally and globally, as long as we can measure ourselves on that kind of a scale and the results come back with this spectrum, as long as that's the case, we will never, ever solve the problems we need. Violence, crime, social justice, health care, and above all, the climate. So this Pew report just hit me right between the eyes. And you can't look at these kinds of numbers and just shrug your shoulders and, oh, well, look at that. That's interesting. No, those numbers are the problem. And we have to understand when we look at these graphs, there it is, right in front of our eyes. That's the problem. The fact that there are rich and that there are poor. You can't accept it. I don't care if the Bible accepts it, which it does. Well, there's always going to be poor people. You can find that in the Bible. I think they also say slaves obey your masters. They say lots of things in the Bible. The point is, just because something's always been this way doesn't mean it has to continue. All right, so check out the Pew Research Income Calculator. See where you stand. A quick mention of last week's NBA championship. Of course, you know I'm here in Milwaukee in the River West neighborhood, the greatest neighborhood in the world. Out my window, I'm looking right now at downtown Milwaukee, the lakefront, and Fiserv Forum, where it all went down. And it was a big deal here, of course, and it still is. There's this lingering happiness. You know, we had the big parade and the speeches, and people are still talking about it. It's great. But the only thought I wanted to share with you, and this is generally speaking, you might relate to this if you're a particular fan of a team or if you're part of some organization. You know, you got your thing, you got your identity. I have a love-hate relationship with bandwagon jumpers. And I want to make it clear right off the top that it's about 98% love and only 2% hate. I do have this kind of uncomfortable feeling like, you know what? Pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo's name correctly. Name one other player besides Giannis. Can you do that? Maybe one or two. I mean, you're not a fan. And it's a little bit annoying, but that's trivial. Mostly, it's 98% love. Welcome, bandwagon jumpers. The more the merrier. It was so much fun as it got down to the finals, and then especially when they won and it was a big party and everybody's out. It's great. So I wanted to mention that. There's this, and any real fan, and see, I'm a pretty casual fan. I'm the kind of fan who does this much. As I'm scrolling through the news every day, I'll check the score. Oh, did the Bucks play last night? Yeah, they won or lost. Okay, good. If I happen to be somewhere where there's a radio, especially if I'm in my car, I'll definitely listen. And I'll just sort of keep an eye on how they're doing in the standings. And, you know, I'm aware of them. I'll catch the highlights on the sports in the evening. Don't really go to games. They're too expensive. And then, of course, when the playoffs come, I get more and more interested. And I watched all the games I could. And I went over to my sister's and partied over there and watched a few games. And so I was very much into the playoffs. I mean, what I just described is a pretty casual fan. There are really just rabid fans out there. Go to every game they can if they can afford it. And they listen to sports radio and they're into it. And they know everything inside and out about the team. And they love the team and they wear jerseys. And I mean, they're real fans compared to what I am. I'm casual. But you know damn well, there were a bunch of people who just didn't know anything about the team. They didn't follow them. They didn't care until they started doing really well in the playoffs. And then it comes to the finals. And finally, you know, game 5 comes, game 6 comes. And now you're interested. And now you're out partying on Water Street. Again, 98% love, 2% annoyed at that. I'll tell you where I am annoyed, and it's not your fault. It's the money fault again. It's back to capitalism. Everything comes back to money and profit. I'll tell you, this makes me not too happy. The people filling up Pfizer Forum, a lot of them were casual fans like me, or maybe even not fans at all, but they had a whole lot of damn money because it cost you like $20,000 to get a decent seat. The cheapest seat in the house was $1,500 for Game 6, which I seriously considered going. I seriously considered spending $1,500, dipping into my savings and think, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime. If they win, this is a big deal. And I didn't do it. I didn't pull that trigger. And I got to tell you, I regret it. If I could do it again, I would take $1,500 out of my savings and I'd be there for Game 6. Can't have that back. I blew it. That's all right. Anyway, the point I'm making is, there were a lot of people in that Pfizer Forum who were there because they could afford it. And there were thousands and thousands of really enthusiastic, Bucks-loving fans. I mean, real fans who had no chance of going to Game 6. There's no way that was going to happen because of the money. There were a lot of damn people who couldn't go. So in a perfect world, or in a better world at least, in the world I want to see, money's gone, profit is gone, capitalism is gone. How do we decide who gets in to see Game 6? Well, I don't know. But anyway, we decide has to be better than the current system. Oh, you got a lot of money? Good, you're in. Do you love the Bucks? Doesn't matter. Are you taking some kid who lives and breathes and lives and dies for the Bucks every day and pretends he's Giannis out on the playground? See, in a world that I want, that kid would be in the seat. And we could figure that out. I was thinking we could have now, hear me out on this. You know what they do over in China? That merit system thing they got going? Social credit, they call it. They do it by spying. You probably know this. If you don't, the Chinese government, they spy on everybody. They got cameras everywhere, and they know everything about everybody. And if you're late for work one day, if you talk back to the boss, or if you're late with a car payment or whatever it is, they know everything about you and they track it and then they put it into this point system called social credit and it ranks you. You have a score, kind of like, well, we do that here too, but it's private corporations do it and it's called the credit score. So it's very similar because you get better deals and better opportunities if your social score is higher. And if it's low, then you don't get those opportunities or maybe you're even punished. So that's the Chinese style social credit system that ranks everybody. Now, the gut reaction that I share with you is that that's Orwellian and it's weird and you don't do that. And of course, I'm not advocating for it. But I got to say, I can find some merit to that. In this particular case, and this is what got me thinking about it. If you could show through some sort of a system that, yeah, I've been to 40 games this year and I've bought all sorts of merch. Again, this is in a non-money world, so take the money aspect out of it. But yes, I've just loved the team and I can show it because of the merch I consume. I can show it because of my attendance at games. And maybe there's some other ways you can sort of prove your worthiness. And then you just run the numbers through the computer and say, okay, Jamal, down on the block, you got a seat. You and a guest. Come to Game 6. You've got a ticket. Now, without getting all weird and Orwellian and Chinese Communist Party stuff, I think there's a way we could do that. I don't know. Hey, all right, here's a little Facebook stuff. Are you getting these posts on your feed that say at the top, suggested for you? Is that new? I don't remember that until recently. Maybe it's been around forever. I just didn't notice. Or they finally got around to me. I don't know. But I'm just wondering, A, are you getting suggested for you posts? And B, what kind of posts are you getting? Because what they're giving me is very odd. Every post that they suggest for me, and I mean every single one so far, and there have been several, are posts that make me angry or upset. Blue Lives Matter, stuff like that. Or something, really conservative. And speaking of the Bucks, I got one just yesterday that was aimed at Phoenix Suns fans. Of course, the team that the Milwaukee Bucks defeated in the finals. Yeah, it was a story for fans of the Phoenix Suns. And they give it to me as something that is suggested for me. Here's another one I got yesterday. I made a little screenshot of it. Here she is, folks. The USS New York. This is a big battleship. Built from 24 tons of steel from the fallen towers of 9/11. Notice the twin towers? Yeah, the ship itself has two, smokestacks. Well, I don't know. Do modern ships have smokestacks? I don't know. They're big towers, though, coming off the top deck. Today, the USS New York is one of the most state-of-the-art amphibious warships in the Navy's fleet. It is manned by a crew of 360 sailors and 3 permanently assigned Marines. Her motto is strength forged through sacrifice, never forget. And remarkably, built from 24 tons of steel from the Twin Towers in New York City. Amazing. Here again, suggested for me. You think that I'm interested, that this is going to make me happy, some big over-the-top patriotic war? I mean, this is how we want to use the steel from the Twin Towers to make a warship? This is what you're suggesting for me? So, yeah, Facebook is intentionally making me angry. Now, we've known this about them for the longest time. All of social media, they want to point you toward things that are going to rile you up. But, we've been sold this idea that, well, all the algorithms and all of that, they get to know you and they get to know your interests and they can target advertising. So if they know me, like they claim to do, if they really know me, then they know damn well that these things are going to make me angry. So we've known two things for a long time. A, they target you with ads, they get to know you. And B, they want to rile you up in order to get your juices going. And the angrier you are, the better you are for their business model. So we've known those two things, A and B. But I've never quite seen them come together so clearly before. They're suggesting posts for me several times a day, and every one of them is designed to make me angry. Now, I've remained on Facebook while many of my friends have given it up for all the right reasons, and I understand. But I've decided to stay, and I rationalize it by saying, well, I'm finding things I might not find otherwise. I like when my friends share interesting articles that I might not have come across, if not for their post. So I've always rationalized, yeah, I'm finding gems in my Facebook feed every day. But the gems are getting a little bit fewer and farther between, and I'm getting more stuff like this. So I might finally join my friends at one point. By the way, I'm sorry, I should have said this earlier. The thing about the USS New York, it's a lie. It's a lie. Not only are they sending me things that make me mad, they are sending me lies, misinformation. Facebook directly is doing this. They're not just being a conduit of someone else sending me lies. No, their algorithm decided that I should see this. And it's a lie. Because it sounded a little crazy to me. 24 tons of steel from the Twin Towers? It just didn't quite pass the smell test. So I did my little 10-second Google search, and I find that 6.8 tons of steel used in the ship's construction came from the rubble of the World Trade Center. This represents less, I'm reading from the Wikipedia entrance right now. This represents less than 1/1000th of the total weight of the ship. Okay, so did you hear that? The steel melted down from the rubble of the World Trade Center, used in the USS New York, is 1,000th of the total weight of the ship. And what they told me was that the ship was built from 24 tons of steel from the fallen towers. So there's what Facebook is up to. Oh, speaking of Facebook, here, let's close with this. There have been a few stories about this. Mark Zuckerberg, the next phase for him and Facebook is to create what he calls a Metaverse. So he wants everything that's happening on Facebook now to go virtual, basically. So all of the personal interactions you're having on Facebook, chatting and sharing comments and sharing news and all of that, he wants to take the screen away. He's being very enlightened here. Oh, we can't live our lives in front of screens all day. So instead, his idea is to spend all day in virtual reality. So you got the goggles on, and then instead of chatting with your friend on Facebook through a screen, or even through, a Zoom type situation, now you've entered right into their space, or they've entered right into yours. And now we're holograms with each other, and we're sitting on each other's couches, and we're having a conversation. And this is both for business and for personal. And he's got this grand vision for what Facebook will be for all of us. Reading now from The Verge. The Metaverse is having a moment. Coined in Snow Crash, Neil Stephenson's 1992 sci-fi novel, the term refers to a convergence of physical, augmented, and virtual reality in a shared online space. In January of 2020, an influential essay by the venture capitalist Matthew Ball set out to identify key characteristics of a metaverse. Among them, it has to span the physical and virtual worlds, contain a fully fledged economy, and offer unprecedented interoperability. Users have to be able to take their avatars and goods from one place in the metaverse to another, no matter who runs that particular part of it. Critically, no one company will run the metaverse. It will be an embodied internet, Zuckerberg said, operated by many different players in a decentralized way. So, this is both new and not new. It's not new in the sense that, we've been thinking about this sort of thing for a long time, and sci-fi thinkers have thought about it for a long time, and we've been moving in this direction, and certainly we have virtual reality for certain applications now. But here's what's new. Here's what's different. It's Mark Zuckerberg. It's Facebook. Never before have we had one company and one person with this much power. And he says it won't be one company. Come on. You think it's a real great idea to put our trust in Mark Zuckerberg in a statement like that? So, first, the idea that I could put on goggles, and I can already do much of this today, and go right into the heart of the Louvre Museum and feel as though I'm there. Great. If I can visit with people around the world and really get a feel for the environment that I can't through a two-dimensional screen, I guess there are lots of wonderful things you could think about the future of virtual reality. But it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to realize right off the bat that all the current injustice, social injustice, economic injustice, are going to flow from this universe into that meta-universe. What's to stop it? Nothing is going to stop it. In fact, it's only going to be enhanced, perpetuated. Right now, there's a great number of people who don't even have a damn computer in their house. They don't have internet. Talking earlier about the hierarchies of incomes. We tend to forget that even right here in America, there's a good portion, a good 20% or more, have little to no internet access. It's just not part of their life because of lousy infrastructure, because of personal financial struggles, because of all the grand economic and social inequities that beset much of the nation. So where are those folks going to be? Oh, yeah, all right, well, welcome to the metaverse, except now you're out. And as long as we continue on the present model of money having all the power, well, then this metaverse is going to reflect that. So it's like with a lot of things. We've been talking a lot about sports the last couple of weeks because of the Bucks. And I told you, I love sports. I love the purity of sports. Everything surrounding it, all the ways in which money has perverted sports, I'm completely with you on that. But the games themselves, the athleticism, the sports themselves are really beautiful inventions. They're beautiful human inventions. And I got nothing but love for them. Well, expand that to this whole metaverse thing. All the things that are wrong with this world are going to travel. So the metaverse is going to be filled with injustices, with misogyny, with racism, with inequalities of all manner. How could it be otherwise? Opportunities for exploitation, opportunities for the rich to get richer and the poor to be exploited, and the middle class to be encouraged to spend and consume at every turn. Why would the metaverse be any different than what we have now? It wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't. It would just put it all on steroids. And as intimate as that relationship might be between two avatars, there is no way in God's green earth that it's going to compare to two people, flesh and blood, face to face, sharing a moment. It's just not going to happen. I think the biggest advocate in the world for this kind of technology has to know that. If they're being honest with themselves, they have to know that, right? So I'm never one to hold back on technological progress. I understand there's kind of no fighting it, and we shouldn't fight it. But at every step along the way, there are unintended consequences. When cars took over for horses, there was less shit in the street. But we all know what cars have done to the planet. I mean, put yourself back in history. Imagine what it felt like to hear someone's voice for the first time over a telephone. I mean, this is witchcraft. This is amazing. Every technological step seems a little strange, a little bizarre, even frightening, and then we're all used to it. But with each technological advance, there are also losses, especially on the humanities side. And especially, and this is my recurring theme today, and my recurring theme throughout this podcast series, as long as it all happens under the rubric of capitalism and profit, we're going to have the same problems, and they're going to just get worse and worse and worse, because that's what capitalism does. It grows. And with it, the problems grow. And with new technologies, then they have opportunities to expand and to grow. So the problems, the injustices, the inequality, the racism, the sexism, the misogyny, the homophobia, all of it gets expanded through Zuckerberg's metaverse. So 3 cheers for technological advance. But it has to happen under a new system. It can't happen under our current system. All right. Well, we'll have to revisit this topic several times. It's pretty big. But for today, that's the log. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.